Do you ever feel nervous speaking in front of people? Or maybe you struggle to speak English fluently because you're afraid of making mistakes. Today's guest, Sarah Blake, has helped thousands of people become confident speakers, from CEOs to students. She's here to share powerful strategies that work, even when you're not feeling your best. So, welcome to Fluent Fox, From Silence to Spotlight, the podcast where we help you speak better English and live a more confident life, just by listening. I'm your host, Nick, and today we're diving into a topic that can change your career, relationships, and mindset. So, grab your headphones, settle in, and let's go from silence to spotlight. Sarah, thank you so much for being here today.
Thank you, Nick. It's such a pleasure to be on Fluent Fox. I love your mission, and I'm really excited to talk about this topic.
Let's begin with something simple. Why is confidence so important, especially when we're speaking English or addressing a group?
Great question. Confidence isn't just about feeling good. It's about helping others feel safe with you. When we speak, especially in another language, people notice how we show up more than the exact words we use. When you appear confident, people trust you more. Even if you're still learning, your presence can say, I'm here, I'm ready.
So it's less about perfection and more about presence?
Exactly. Confidence is not the absence of fear, it's the presence of intention.
Sarah, in your experience, what are some of the first things you notice that distinguish a confident speaker from someone who lacks confidence?
That's a great question, Nick. Often, it comes down to a few key elements. Firstly, energy and vocal projection. A confident speaker typically speaks with a clear voice and a certain level of energy that draws the listener in. They aren't necessarily shouting, but their voice carries, and their enthusiasm for the topic is palpable.
That makes perfect sense. When someone speaks softly and without much inflection, it can be difficult to stay engaged. For our listeners who are learning English, focusing on speaking clearly and perhaps even slightly louder than they normally would can be a simple yet powerful way to project more confidence.
Absolutely. It's about making sure your message is heard and understood. Another crucial aspect is the use of pauses. Nervous speakers often rush through their words, filling any silence with ums and ah. A confident speaker, on the other hand, uses pauses strategically. They pause before important points to create anticipation, after a key statement to allow it to sink in, and during transitions between ideas to signal a shift.
Pause like a boss, as some might say. It gives the impression of being thoughtful and in control, doesn't it? For English learners, learning to incorporate deliberate pauses can not only make them sound more confident, but also give them a moment to gather their thoughts before continuing.
Precisely. It shows you're not just reciting information but processing it as you speak. Moving on, let's talk about body language, or in our case, since this is a podcast, the audible cues that suggest confident body language. Even though listeners can't see you, your posture and presence come through in your voice. Someone who is confident often sounds more upright, their voice resonates more fully, and they convey a sense of openness.
That's fascinating. So even something like sitting up straight while recording can influence how confident we sound?
Absolutely. Think of it as an internal superhero stance, as some might call it. It's about embodying a sense of capability and assurance, and that translates into your vocal delivery. For our listeners, even practicing speaking with good posture can lead to a more confident tone.
Now, Sarah, you also mentioned the importance of practice. We often hear that practice makes perfect. But what does purposeful practice look like when it comes to speaking confidently?
Purposeful practice is about more than just repeating words. It involves setting specific goals for each practice session. Perhaps one day you focus on your pronunciation of certain sounds, another day on your pacing and pauses, and another on your overall energy. It's about layering in these elements gradually.
So, for someone learning English, this could mean practicing specific phrases or even recording themselves and listening back to identify areas for improvement in their clarity or pace.
Exactly. And it's also about simulating the actual speaking situation as much as possible. If you have an important English conversation coming up, practice similar scenarios out loud. This builds familiarity and reduces anxiety. Don't be afraid to over-practice in the sense of becoming comfortable with the material. The goal isn't to sound robotic, but to internalize the flow and key points.
That's great advice. It's about building muscle memory for speaking confidently. Now, Sarah, you touched upon something really intriguing in your work, the idea of a silent sentence. Could you elaborate on what that is and how it contributes to speaking confidence?
The silent sentence is the internal dialogue, the message you consciously choose to tell yourself right before and during a speaking engagement. Often, when we feel nervous, our minds are filled with unhelpful thoughts. What if I mess up? Everyone will notice I'm not perfect. These internal messages can sabotage our confidence. The silent sentence is about replacing those negative thoughts with a positive and empowering affirmation. It's about connecting with your deeper purpose as a speaker. For example, instead of thinking, I need to impress everyone, you might tell yourself, my goal is to connect with my audience and share something valuable.
That's a powerful shift in focus. So, for someone learning English, instead of thinking, I'm going to make so many mistakes, a more helpful silent sentence might be, I'm here to communicate and share my thoughts, and every conversation is a learning opportunity.
Precisely. It's about setting an intention that centers on connection and contribution rather than perfection. This silent affirmation acts like an override switch for those nervous thoughts, allowing your genuine desire to communicate to take center stage.
How does one go about finding their own effective silent sentence?
It starts with introspection. Ask yourself, what do I want to achieve with my communication? What's my underlying purpose? What message do I truly want to convey? Once you identify that core intention, you can craft a short, positive sentence that encapsulates it. It should resonate with you on a personal level.
So it's not just about saying positive words. It's about connecting those words to a genuine desire and purpose. And the key is to repeat this silent sentence to yourself regularly, especially before and during speaking situations.
Exactly. It becomes part of your pre-performance routine, just like a musician might tune their instrument. It's a way to mentally prepare and set yourself up for success.
Sarah, these are incredibly valuable insights. Thank you so much for sharing your expertise with us today.
My pleasure, Nick. I wish all your listeners the very best on their communication journeys. Nick, for our listeners, I hope this discussion has provided you with practical tools and a renewed perspective on building confidence in speaking. Remember the power of your energy, the impact of a well-placed pause, the audible cues of your presence, the importance of purposeful practice, and the transformative potential of your silent sentence.
As you continue your English learning journey, remember that confidence is not about being perfect. It's about being present, being engaged, and having the courage to communicate your thoughts and ideas. Embrace the learning process, celebrate your progress, and don't be afraid to speak up. Thanks for tuning in to Fluent Fox. Until next time, keep learning, keep listening.